All right, guys. So the reason why I chose to do this series is because within each chapter, there's little subtitles right here, and it seems to be consistent throughout the book. So I could break these videos down where it makes sense. It's not one long chapter. So we're still on the power of the market. The last video ended abruptly, but fortunately, I was already done with that little sub chapter within the bigger chapter. So the power of the market, chapter one. That was more the preface. The last video was the preface. This one is called Cooperation Through Voluntary Exchange. Cooperation through voluntary exchange. It's not that long, guys. Don't worry. So, a delightfully a delightful story called I Pencil. I Pencil. A delightful story called I Pencil. My family tree, as told to Leonard E. Reed, dramatizes vividly how voluntary exchange enables millions of people to cooperate with one another. Mr. Reed, in the voice of the lead pencil, the ordinary wooden pencil familiar to all boys and girls and adults who can read and write, starts his story with the fantastic statement that not a single person knows how to make me. Like, not a single person knows how to make a pencil, right? Then he proceeds to tell about all the things that go into the making of a pencil. First, the wood comes from a tree, a cedar of straight grain that grows in Northern California and Oregon. To cut down the tree and cart the logs to the railroad siding requires saws and trucks and rope and countless other gear. Many persons and numberless skills are involved in their fabrication, in the mining of ore, the making of steel and its refinement into saws, axes, motors, the growing of hemp and bringing it through all the stages to heavy and strong rope, the logging camps with their beds and mess halls. Untold thousands of persons had a hand in every cup of coffee the loggers drink. And so Mr. Reed goes on to bringing of the logs to the millwork involved in converting the logs to slats, and the transportation of the slats from California to Wilkes-Barre, where the particular pencil that tells the story was manufactured. And so far, we have only the outside wood of the pencil. The lead center is not really lead at all. It starts as graphite mined in Ceylon. After many complicated processes, it ends up as the lead in the center of the pencil. The bit of metal, the ferrule, near the top of the pencil is brass. Talking about that thing that connects the eraser to the pencil, that metal thing, it's called a ferrule, kind of like in plumbing. Think of all the persons, he says, who mine zinc and copper, and those who have the skills to make shiny sheet brass from these products of nature. What we call the eraser is known in the trade as the plug. It is thought to be rubber, but Mr. Reed tells us the rubber is only for binding purposes. The erasing is actually done by factice, Factice, a rubber-like product made by reacting rapeseed oil from the Dutch East Indies, now Indonesia, with sulfur chloride. After all of this, says the pencil, does anyone wish to challenge my earlier assertion that no single person on the face of this earth knows how to make me? I mean, they might know how it's made, the process of it, but I think what he's saying, not one person can do it on their own. None of the thousands of persons involved in producing the pencil performed his task because he wanted a pencil. Some among them never saw a pencil and would not know what it is for. Each saw his work as a way to get the goods and services he wanted, like to be able to eat and have food and sustain himself and have a home and fix things that go on around, Goods and services we produced in order to get the pencil we wanted. Every time we go to the shore, every time we go to the store and buy a pencil, we are exchanging a little bit of our services for the infinitesimal amount of services that each of the thousands contributed toward producing the pencil. We are exchanging a little bit of our services for the infinitesimal amount of services that each of the thousands contributed toward producing the pencil. It is even more astounding that the pencil was ever produced. No one sitting in a central office gave orders to these thousands of people. No military police enforced the orders that were not given. These people live in many lands, speak different languages, practice different religions, may even hate one another. Yet none of these differences prevented them from cooperating to produce a pencil. How did it happen? Adam Smith gave us the answer 200 years ago. Remember, Adam Smith is the one who wrote um, Wealth of Nations. Okay, let me be devil's advocate. So this is the if you guys grasp what was spoken, this is the invisible hand. Like who's making all these people want to do these jobs to make this one product that we take for granted? Like, oh, how do they package meat? It obviously came from an animal, but who killed the animal? Who separated the meat from what we don't want? Who raised these animals? Who fed these animals? Who who picked it up and moved it over here to get packaged? Like that's the theoretical phenomena of the invisible hand. But Milton Friedman mentioned an invisible hand that's working for the people who want to command everything, the big government, the ones that want to control it. So, but I could play devil's advocate, because what also pops out of my mind is that what seems to be pushing it is people desire of self-interest, but he also covers that corner as well, which is the self-interest of each man to want something, to get something out of it that's extrinsic, pushes all this. But he's also saying that allows for freedom and prosperity at the same time. So, huh. But does it still work today as you're reading this? Does it still make sense today when is are we at full capacity? Is our GDP operating at full capacity? Um but do the wages incentivize us to want to work? Does the living rate and the working wage make sense? Is the working wage still grant us that possibility of establishing ourselves comfortably, to own a home, to be able to sustain, to be a father and raise your children, you know to be able to settle down with one woman? Because that plays, for a man, that plays a huge role. Because if not, we're going to want to produce anyway, and then we get a female pregnant, and then we do it and then we don't realize, like, damn, I wasn't ready financially, and finances play a huge part of it. So I'm playing devil's advocate right here. I'm getting you to think, and does it make sense today? That's why they're letting people come in, because they want to keep. They realize nobody's going to work, because Americans realize they see that we can't survive off even that's such a small wage. So nobody's wanting to do these jobs, these subordinate jobs, these jobs that uplift someone, the guy on top, who the owner of the company. Nobody wants to take those jobs because of the living wage. So that puts pressure on the firms and the employer to have to raise his wage. But what they do, they let people come in, so that way they don't have to change the wage, because those people's circumstances don't take those jobs at that wage. So nobody talks about that. They talk, oh, they just want votes and stuff, and these things are going to happen by the invisible hand anyway, right? This is all invisible hand. So it's like you have to play. You're either going to play the game, or you have to learn how to sustain. You have to get along with your family that's providing for you, or but I also think it also puts pressure, not pressure, but you can also flip it into empowerment, to empower you to look at somebody and say, hey, this is not just a relationship based off of feelings and emotions. This is us working together to grow something. It could go back to that core of it, which that's the purpose of relationships in a sense, right? To come together and establish something together, to put two incomes to just, yeah. I see both sides. I see why. Again, I use my analogy, and my analogy is, just because I wasn't invited to the party, or I was invited but I just didn't want to go. I'm not going to get upset if they told me there's a party going on, and they forewarned me there's going to be some music and some people enjoying themselves. Tomorrow I might wake up and I might decide to join the party. So I understand, but I also understand how there's some people that are fucked, because to gain some sort of economic comfortability and economic success, there's social factors at play. There's someone's ability to work with other people, and I see that there's some people that their temperaments aren't there, their social skills aren't there, and so I could see their argument as well, that they need help. And so that's why I see the contradiction to people who want progress. Oh, I'm about progress. We need progress. I feel like it's that sort of lady wisdom on top of the hill screaming for equality and such. I see that it's become redundant because you're calling for progress, so you're also saying, well, we don't have time to slow down and heal those. It's like, forget about those who are damaged, and I'm fighting for the people, not fighting. I'm also, I could see why I became how I became, so I could also see why you have become how you became. And so, and I think when you become a family man and you have your own children, you want to be. I don't know. It's yeah. I don't like that sweep these people under the rug. I don't know. Call it conservative. Call it nah. Call it what you want. I'm just here to learn. And so, yeah, that one was called. We're still in chapter one. That was called the role of. No, that wasn't. That's the next. The cooperation through voluntary exchange. It's good to know things. It's good to be enlightened and understand the arguments that are going on out here, the discussions, because they don't really change as much. Things haven't really changed as much. Yeah, I could read a book on technology and AI and um, yeah, even the same arguments of philosophy. You just have to learn about them and get more in depth with them.